Greetings, Starfighters! You may have noticed that in this month of July in the year of our Lord 2025 that there were in fact 2 episodes and not an episode in June, and yet the first episode that came out in July seems to imply that I thought it would be coming out in June. Well, here's the thing. It would have come out in June because everything was ready and was in the shared folder with my editor with a decent amount of time to get the episode out in the calendar month of June. And then her hard drive died. Yeah. I mean, it's better now, obviously. You wouldn't have seen the previous episode, and you probably wouldn't be watching this one either if she hadn't, because I can't exactly afford another editor right now. Anyway, so, man's favorite sport? Yes, there is a question mark in the title. I don't really know much about this one. Well, let's face it, I don't know much about any of these going in. Looks like Rock Hudson is playing someone who is pretending to be a fisherman. Okay. Oh, okay. Howard Hawks directed this. Okay, that's promising. All right. Yeah, let's just go ahead and, I got really nothing to add at the moment. Hopefully, I'm recording this video part, like, on the first day of July while I'm actually still waiting for the finished file for the, Come September episode. If anything catastrophic between now and when this episode uploads happens that I don't comment on, that's why. I think the first year of the show there was a couple of years in the course of this show where I really didn't feel like I had to worry about that kind of thing, that something just truly horrible would happen between when I recorded the intro and when the episode went up on YouTube. That I would you know what? Man's favorite sport? So I have now watched Man's Favorite Sport from 1964. Don't worry, I'm not gonna do that the entire episode. Plot summary courtesy of Letterboxd. Roger Willoughby is a renowned fishing expert who, unbeknownst to his friends, co-workers, or boss, has never cast a line in his life. One day, he crosses paths with Abigail Page, a sweetly annoying girl, I don't know about the sweetly, but we'll get into that, who has just badgered his boss into signing Roger up for an annual fishing tournament. So, we have us another deception-based comedy, like the last movie. That's concerning to be sure, but if you saw my video for Come September, you might remember that I did say it's possible to do a movie like that well. Just extremely difficult. Oh, and also Henry Mancini is doing the score for this movie, so regardless of how the plot goes, we should at least be getting some decent music out of it. So after the opening credits, we start our story in future headquarters of Starfleet, San Francisco. Rock Hudson's character, Roger, is driving and notices that he is being followed suspiciously close by a yellow car driven by a young woman who we later learn is Abigail from the plot summary. She follows him into a parking lot and takes his space as he was getting ready to back into it. And it was his space. It was numbered, and it leads to the whole thing. It leads to an argument, and eventually some shenanigans, as Roger tries to move Abigail's car, which leads to an interaction with a cop that is a little too slow-paced to actually be funny, but, I can see where they were going for, at least. After getting a ticket for failing to move his own car, Roger makes it to work and meets with a regular customer who is looking for fishing equipment for a tournament. This scene is set up to establish to the audience that he's faking how much he actually knows about fishing. Well, okay, faking that he's an expert in it. No, we'll get to it. We'll cover that. Anyway, after this, Roger is summoned to his employer's office where Roger sees Abigail again, much to his chagrin. This chagrin intensifies after he learns that Abigail, who works PR for the lodge hosting the fishing tournament mentioned in the summary, has gotten his employer, Abercrombie & Fitch, yes, really, to enter him in the tournament as their official representative. This scene continues something from the first interaction between Abigail and Roger in the parking lot, and oh boy. Okay, so there's nothing inherently wrong with the style of dialogue going on here. What's bugging me is the execution. Specifically, it's too slow. If you're going to have scenes where the humor comes from the characters interrupting and misinterpreting each other, it works best when it's rapid fire. Here, everyone speaks a little too slowly during the joke scenes. The interruptions don't come across as two clever people trying to one-up each other. It just comes across as Roger not being allowed to finish his sentences and Abigail being needlessly rude. And keep in mind, she is coming across as the bigger jerk in this scene, playing against someone that I already know is a liar. This almost feels like a poor imitation of a Howard Hawks movie, but the thing is, this is a Howard Hawks movie. I think I saw something on the Letterboxd page about this being the last one he made before he died. I hope the movie gets better soon, because I would have hated for him to go out on this. I mean, we're not even 15 minutes in, and I'm already not having any fun. One point I can give this scene, though, is it plays with the trope of a character being revealed as wearing a toupee. In any other movie, he, Roger's boss here, would be embarrassed when it gets revealed, but here, he just sets it aside after it's accidentally been knocked off his head into a fish tank. He sets it aside and says his wife tells him to wear it, and then he just carries on with what he'd been talking about without missing a beat. No shame. I like that. So, the interaction between Roger and Abigail continues on into an elevator, and then into a restaurant with a rotating bar, and I continue to not find this funny. Especially Abigail. Obviously, the movie is setting it up for her and Roger to fall in love, but I don't want them to. She's just not a good person. Honestly, at this point in the movie, I'm starting to wonder if she actually already knows that Roger doesn't really know anything about fishing, has had no actual experience with fishing. We'll get to that. Because that's about the only way anything she's done up to this point makes sense. Abigail and her friend, named Easy, yes, and I think they make a couple of jokes with that, but not as many as you might think. Easy is the daughter of the owner of the lodge, and they press Roger on why he doesn't want to enter the fishing tournament, and admittedly his excuses come across as pretty weak. He promises to tell them the real reason, but only somewhere where they can't be overheard. So he takes them to a piano museum. He proceeds to use various coins to activate every sound-making machine in the building, and he tells them he's never been fishing in his life. Well, that happened a lot sooner than I expected. In fact, I'm surprised that he told them at all. Usually this kind of movie would have him trying to pass himself off as an expert until she finds out and it causes a whole bunch... She, being Abigail, by the way, finds out and it causes a whole bunch of drama. Okay, movie. The pacing is still slow and one of your romantic leads is less likable than a con man. Well, I don't think it's fair to call him a con man. Well, again... Take a shot. At this point in this episode, you could take a shot every time I say we'll get to that, but we'll get to that. But, the movie has kind of gotten my interest at this point. You know, I'm like, all right, let's see how this plays out. By the way, Abigail didn't know, so in fact, she was just being a jerk earlier. Charming. So anyway, Roger assumes this will get Abigail to convince his boss to not put him in the tournament. We're not even a quarter of the way through the movie yet, so guess what she doesn't do. Next scene, Abigail takes Roger out to lunch and asks him how he ended up in this position. He tells a story about having gotten a job selling fishing gear as a youth, and his customers loved to talk and talk. And this has worked out for Roger, as he gives his customers the right answers to the questions they ask him, and they seem satisfied. And he has never outright claimed to be a fisherman. So is it really that big of a deal? I suppose he's not wrong. If the information he gives to the people who buy from him at Abercrombie & Finch works, does it matter that it came from him listening to other people with experience and from reading books? Frankly, if his customers wouldn't be willing to take advice that apparently works because it came from someone who learned what he knew from books as opposed to hands-on experience, wouldn't that make them the assholes? Well, okay, he does sell a book, so he's not entirely innocent here. And while he never claimed to be a fisherman, he never denied it either, so looking at it from that angle, I could see why some people might feel like they got ripped off, even if the book or the fishing equipment they purchased based on his advice worked for them. Okay, maybe Roger is a little bit the asshole. I still can't quite bring myself to see him as being in the wrong, though. And that's going to be a problem for the movie. But we'll, again, take a shot. We'll get to that. So anyway, speaking of assholes, Abigail continues to pressure Roger into entering the tournament anyway, including using blackmail, i.e. threatening to tell everyone about his secret. She says that she and Easy can help teach him, and he'll probably do well enough to keep his job. She then asks Roger if he's told his fiancée, who I haven't mentioned till now because she's been mentioned once, not seen at all, and doesn't even have a name yet, and he says it never came up. Okay, it's not great for a relationship to let your partner believe something about you that isn't true. That's certainly a red flag there, but I mean, would my fiancé let me think they knew how to fish when they actually didn't? Be a relationship killer for most people? Really? Keep in mind, I have never been in a relationship, so take all of this with a grain of salt, but if your partner is someone who would break up with you because you didn't tell them you don't actually know how to fish and just learned about it from listening to fishermen and reading books, seems to me you're better off without them. Okay, at this point, I think I need to acknowledge the elephant in the room here. I know my voice sounds terrible. I blew out my voice the day before recording this for very embarrassing reasons that I am just not going to share, but I really needed to record this today if I wanted to get this episode out before the end of the calendar month. So, it is what it is. So, we fade cut to the next day, and Roger arrives at the lodge where he is greeted by an offensive Native American stereotype. Oh, God. I would say the less time spent on this guy, the better, but, oh, God. I mean, just his intro scene alone lasts 3 minutes, and then we keep seeing him periodically throughout the movie. So what follows is a stretch of physical comedy that's a mixed bag, to put it kindly. Honestly, if you've seen a movie where someone who's never been camping tries to camp, you have a decent idea in your head of what this segment of the film is like. There is a lodge, but Roger's boss gave him a bunch of new camping equipment that he wanted him to try out. That's why that's happening. At one point, Abigail and Easy show up and watch him as he tries to set up a tent and struggles with it, and they offer no help whatsoever. We get a last name for the fiancé during a lodge dinner scene that ends on a punchline of Roger accidentally eating a caterpillar that had fallen in his salad. At this point, I was thinking we'd be shocked if we ever actually see the fiancé before the movie is over, but we do. Briefly. Yada yada, Abigail tries to teach Roger to fish, Roger has a motor scooter get stolen by a bear in a rare, genuinely funny moment in the movie. The Native American stereotype comes back a few more times, like I said before. Abigail is starting to have feelings for Roger because it's expected for this type of movie. Roger manages to catch a fish through dumb luck. It looks like there might be an out for Roger to leave the tournament, but this is proposed at only the halfway point of the movie, so no chance of that working. Yada yada. Abigail is pretty openly flirting with Roger at this point, but he could not care less. Roger's fiancé arrives early. Misunderstandings ensue. It's all quite cringy. Roger snaps at his boss and isn't immediately fired. That's like that would happen in real life. The fishing tournament starts. The Native American stereotype character continues to show up, much to my annoyance. Good God, this movie does not need to be 2 hours. Roger's fiancé dumps him after yet another misunderstanding the night of the first day of the 3-day tournament. His tie got caught in the zipper of Easy's dress. It makes sense in context. It's stupid, but it makes sense. We fade to day 2, and there is still a half hour left in the movie somehow. Roger wins day 2, also through a bit of luck. Good for him, I guess. Roger and Abigail kiss, because of course they do, and I swear on my life, and I can back this up with image 25 in the shared folder, thank you. The kiss is followed by stock footage of trains crashing into each other. Moving on, we go to the final day of the tournament. Roger wins through sheer dumb luck after being scared by a bear, makes sense in context, yada yada. Abigail shows up a blubbering mess and, while crying, tells Roger he should admit to everything because he's too nice of a guy to keep fooling people all the time. When she leaves, Roger reveals to the audience, by talking to himself, that he was planning to do that anyway. This isn't that out of the blue, actually. He's been clearly miserable this whole time and seems to take no joy whatsoever in his victory. Roger comes clean to his boss and several of his regular customers, though they seem to take it in stride. He does still get fired, which he expected. Honestly, I don't think he should have been, even if he got the advice he gave his customers from a book instead of experience. It worked, but whatever. The inevitable conclusion is dragged out to 10 freaking minutes, but they end up together in the rain, and in a better movie, I might be happy for them. Also, Roger's customers rally in his defense to his boss and gets him rehired, which I actually am kind of happy about, because, his boss was being an elitist ass. The end. Random thoughts I had while watching the movie. 1. I like the melody of the opening credits song, but the lyrics are kind of annoying. 2. Did I mention that this movie is 2 hours? There are very, very few comedies that need to be longer than 90 minutes. This movie did not need to be more than 90 minutes. I'm not even sure it needed to be more than 80. 3. I've been vegan for 14 years, and yet I bet I could have done a better job fishing on my first try than Roger did. Again, he did catch a fish, but it was really stupid luck. 4. There's an extended gag halfway through the movie where they put a fake cast on Roger's arm. It goes on way longer than necessary, which is par for the course for this movie, but I did get a laugh out of him passing out while Abigail is sawing it off when they realize the plan to fake a broken arm won't work. 5. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I caught Rock Hudson almost cracking up in scenes where he wasn't supposed to be laughing. Well, I'm glad he had fun making the movie, at least. 6. I think they killed real fish for this movie. Not a big fan of that. 7. The actual last scene of the movie is some random clip from a black and white movie. Don't ask me why, I just work here. Final verdict. It is definitely better than Come September, I'll give it that much. I did have a few genuine laughs here and there, but honestly, I just couldn't get invested in the story. I will say it's good the main character wasn't completely insufferable this time. In fact, honestly, I feel like he was not at all as in the wrong as the movie seemed to want us to think he is, but I've gone on about that. I suppose if I had to sum up this movie in one word, it would be okay. It's just okay. Pretty much right in the middle between Has Anybody Seen My Gal and Come September. Maybe a little closer to Has Anybody Seen My Gal. Anyway, next up, the first movie of the second half of the season, which means I should start making the list of potential artists to make the season 13 card. Oh, the movie is called Strange Bedfellows. Have fun, stay safe, rest in peace, Ozzy.